Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for already putting some questions towards me. So I will try to do my very best to give you the best answers I can do. So let's look at the first question. How does the human rotavirus vaccine provide protections to other rotavirus strains, so to the other circulating rotaviruses? Well, then let's look first how the rotavirus in itself is being composed. You do know it has 11 genomic sequences of double-stranded RNA, which do encode for a lot of proteins. And the proteins build the shelf where the RNA is being encoded, and the outer shelf are mostly being considered the VP4 structure, which is a little bit the yellow part of here in a schematic way being shown, and the VP6 and 7. The VP6 is a little bit more inner, and the VP7 is this greenish part. But actually, if you look into the antibodies, what you see is more than 50% of the antibodies are of the VP6 structure. So what is really generating the immune response? Well, maybe it's more than just the VP4 and the viral protein 4 and the viral protein 7. It's potentially the viral protein 6 which is being involved in this one. And if I really would know, I would tell you. So we do know IgA, IgG, IgM, and T cells may play a role against all the structures. As I said, the VP7, VP4, VP6, but also the NSP4 proteins or others. Well, all these immune components, they correlate with protection, but it's just a surrogate marker. It's not a very good marker which we have in our hands. So if you don't have a really good marker, what will you do? Well, I think you do the field effectiveness studies. This is being required, and I have shown you effectiveness data already before, but I will go and show you again. Let's look again at the concept what we have. We have a G1P8 strain which is in our vaccine, and this G1P8 strain does deliver the partially heterotropic and totally heterotropic protection. And that is really what we do see in the field effectiveness study. So, in one of our studies in Belgium, you see a total reduction. Effectiveness of 90% of the vaccine, regardless which strain is circulating. But if you want to know which strain it is, as there were some strains circulating, we have done the same assessment. We looked at the vaccine effectiveness of the G1P8, the G2P4, the G4, the G3. And what you see is constantly high vaccine effectiveness data in one of the single studies. And there are tons of studies around the world now looking at it, where we have clearly the evidence that it does give this kind of broad protection. How? It's not clear. But it's very clear that it does. And if you look to the literature, you see studies from the US, Belgium, Brazil, Bolivia, or even South Africa. And all the data against the different strains which are listed over here, from the G1P8, which is in the vaccine, up to G9 or G12. What you really do see is it all delivers high vaccine effectiveness data. And you may know in the European product prescription there are already 7 strains being included. So Rotarix and the RV5 have similar ways how they protect against severe rotavirus gastroenteritis, but they are constructed differently. And they both may suggest an important role to give in heterothermic immunity against the severe rotavirus gastroenteritis. The next question, well, is it correct to assume that having more rotavirus strains in the vaccine will provide better protection against disease because there is direct protection elicited by the strains included in the vaccine? Well, I think I have been answering the first part, but I will go back into this one. And as you have been seeing, what is protection? Direct protection. I really don't know. Either you have something which is foreign to your body, non-self, we call it as an immunologist, so the body will detect it and then it will react. So that's protection. And indirect protection is that what we call if we have a herd effect, totally different, has nothing to do with this. So direct protection is a term which I don't understand really, because you only can protect when your immune system does recognize there's something which is foreign to your body. So that is protection actually. And it does happen with structures as the rotavirus structures which are being used in our attenuated vaccine. Let's look back again to the different concepts which are being used. 2 doses for the Rotarix. There's G1P8 in our strain, low virus titer, higher viral shedding, and in the RV5 there was 3 doses being needed. 3 doses, and you see there is quite a huge amount of virus being included, and that is certainly a difference to reach the same effect. So there must be an immunological difference in that one, how the immunogenicity is being built up. Rotarix has been designed to mimic the broad protection, which is naturally being received. As you know, it's has been selected from a little baby strain and then has been attenuated. So with 2 natural rotavirus infections, you don't see the severe disease anymore. And that has been seen, as I just pointed out before, by our researchers or by independent researchers, Dick Wharton and Paul Velasquez, and also by our researchers. And what you really see is that there is broad protection against the different strains which are circulating, and I show you the high effectiveness data overall. From anything from 70 to high 90s, you see broad effectiveness against all the circulating strains, and this is just a review from more than 77 studies which we have been looking at, and we just selected those ones which are most important. Is a 3-dose schedule better than a 2-dose schedule? Well, this is a very tricky question, and actually let's look into that one, how the world is responding to the rotavirus vaccines. We have been seeing that 81 countries have been inducing it into the international immunization program, and out of the 81, 63 have been choosing Rotarix into their program. That gives you already the answer, that it may be a little bit better from a programmatic perspective to give only 2 doses, and cold chain and all this kind of things to be considered. But now let's go back into the way how the vaccines are being built up. And if you look at the RV5 vaccine, the first dose builds not really statistically significant up the efficacy. The second dose, you cannot see anything else. But the third dose gives you great efficacy, which is being reported as it is a 3-dose vaccine. So very clearly, the third dose is for the RV5, so the third dose is the very important one. You see, same for the hospitalization, the same data, so it is really important. It does deliver the efficacy and effectiveness in this way how the immunogenicity is being built up. Now let's look to the Rotarix. Well, actually, for Rotarix, you know, it's a 2-dose vaccine. Even the first dose does give you high efficacy data. And the efficacy data we have been seeing around the world, and the effectiveness are there from all the globe, certainly with the 2 doses, and you have been seeing this kind of data. So for Rotarix, the first dose is the most important. I think that's a very clear and simple message to be given, considering the different way how the vaccines is being built up. And if you now think about that, how does that respond with the compliance? You know, compliance with rotavirus vaccination, very much as all with the childhood vaccines. If you need to have a third dose, compliance is normally always a little bit lower with a third dose. So these are data from the US, and you can clearly see that with Rotarix, you are more likely to receive the vaccine compliantly and complete with the course, and that is different to NAVI5 vaccine. So there is likely to be a difference in between these kind of compliance schedules. So you reach less children, and that is certainly something which you might want to consider from a pragmatic point of view. Well, I think with this, I've tried to answer the first questions. I'm happy to take next time more. Thank you very much.